Have you ever wondered why an enlightened being, possessing boundless wisdom, would subject his body to 6 relentless years of extreme austerity high in snowy forests? Could it be that beneath this legendary ordeal lies a hidden script of cosmic debts and universal compassion that extends across lifetimes? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your old friend, here to guide you through an epic journey that threads together 3 great eras: the humble Brahmin who offered nothing but ashtu, the sheltered prince who abandoned palace comforts, and the solitary seeker beneath the Bodhi tree who transcended agony to awaken. By the end of this video you'll grasp 2 astonishing truths. First, that the 6-year austerity was never mere self-punishment, but an act of settling a primordial tashtu debt accumulated generations before. And second, that this 3-stage process maps out a living blueprint for distilling our own burdens and igniting sudden insight, even without donning rags or scaling mountain passes. Our story begins 30,000 years ago on the banks of the Ganges, where a destitute Brahmin named Desatiharo brewed a meager gruel of ashes and bark, offering it in silent compassion so that future beings might taste warmth instead of hunger. Though his vow seemed to vanish with his passing, ancient lore records that his small act engraved a crater of debt in the cosmic ledger, one that only a supreme being could seal with 6 years of embodied suffering. Fast forward 27 millennia to Kapilavastu, where Prince Siddhartha gazed beyond palace walls at old age, sickness, and death, and heard an echo of that long-forgotten plea for relief. In the dead of night he confided to his beloved Yashodhara, "I must cross the river of suffering by anchoring a bridge of my own flesh and bones." That bridge, late named the Noble Eightfold Path, was laid plank by plank through self-discipline and compassion. Yet the austerity did not end as mere physical trial. Modern quantum ethics terms this a energy resonance burnout. By amplifying his own suffering to unprecedented levels, the Buddha created a phase cancellation effect that neutralized the lingering negative karmic charge of that first Brahmin's vow. Psychological lie, Carl Jung might call it an alchemical crucible, where the shadow self is burned away to reveal pure awareness at the core. In today's world of non-stop stimuli and pressure, you don't need 6 years on a frozen peak to apply the same formula. We'll translate his ordeal into a 42-day reverse frequency debt script, guiding you through gradual fasting, breath limitation, somatic mapping, compassionate outreach, and finally, the joyful return to abundance so you can clear hidden debts of fear, scarcity, and doubt without leaving your city apartment. But first, let's zoom into the first of 5 inner chambers, where the Buddha confronted the primal terror of bone-deep pain, that bone chamber. Here he trained his mind to witness each pack of pain as a mirror reflecting the collective suffering of all beings, willingly shouldering their fear so they might be freed. In a similar vein, modern pain science shows that focused attention on deep discomfort can recalibrate our nervous system's default fear response, transforming pain into insight. Stay with me as we unfold each chamber's practice and reveal how, year by year, utter social experiments in generosity and non-attachment intertwined with inner alchemy to forge the middle way light that dawned under the Bodhi tree. In the second chamber, often called the flesh chamber in later commentaries, the Buddha confronted the ravenous pall of hunger and the fragility of the human body. Under leafless trees and on beds of pebbles, he allowed his stomach to shriek with emptiness, but he trained his awareness to observe each pang without resistance. In that raw encounter with need, he discovered that craving itself is the seed of suffering, and that by fully inhabiting the sensation of emptiness, one can invert it into the spacious ground of awareness. Contemporary interoception research echoes this discovery. Subjects who practice mindful body scans during brief fasts report a profound shift from panic to curiosity, as neural circuits remodel from fight or flight reactivity toward exploratory calm. Athletes today use this insight in ultra-endurance competitions, learning to pause with each cramp and simply note its contras until the body releases tension on its own. In this way, the Buddha's meditation on hunger becomes a blueprint for modern resilience training, teaching us that embracing our vulnerability can unlock reservoirs of inner freedom. Moving deeper into the journey, the third chamber reveals the crucible of emotion. Here, the Buddha allowed waves of fear, anger, and despair to rise without suppression. He felt jealousy burn when other ascetics praised his resolve. He tasted envy when they achieved miraculous powers he did not seek, and he met guilt for having abandoned his royal family. Rather than fleeing these storms, he turned them into allies by simply naming them, panga, fear, or onging. With each label, the emotion lost its autonomous charge and revealed itself as transient. Today's trauma therapists call this effect labeling and employ it to great effect. By giving voice to painful emotions, patients deactivate the amygdala's alarm circuitry and create space for reflection rather than reactivity. The Buddha's mastery of emotional alchemy thus remains a living practice, empowering anyone to transform inner turbulence into clarity and compassion. Beyond personal transformation, the fourth chamber extends into the realm of altruism. Having purified his own body and mind, the Buddha stepped into villages to share whatever little sustenance remained, offering blessings without asking for repayment. This radical generosity shattered the final barrier of self-centeredness and fulfilled the karmic debt initiated by the Brahmin's humble gruel. Charity in this context is not a moral ornament, but a liberating gesture. When giving flows without expectation, the boundary between giver and receiver dissolves. Modern social psychologists confirm that unconditional acts of kindness activate the brain's reward networks far more intensely than gifts received, fostering well-being in both parties. Hospitals that integrate compassion rounds, where staff spend minutes each shift simply listening to patients, report lower burnout and higher patient satisfaction, an echo of the Buddha's own compassionate outreach. Finally, the fifth stage, often called the luminous chamber, marks the culmination of austerity and service in a joyful return to abundance. After 6 years, when Queen Maia's scent of fresh rice porridge reached the forest, the Buddha tasted sweetness for the first time in ages, yet he did so without clinging, savoring each morsel as a fleeting wonder rather than a possession. This balance of nourishment and non-attachment ignited the final spark of awakening under the Bodhi tree. In modern practice, this moment corresponds to the reintegration phase of intensive retreats, where participants resume ordinary meals and conversation while maintaining the insight of spacious presence. Retreat centers have found that this phase is critical. When old habits of overindulgence or scarcity reassert too quickly, the breakthrough loses its power. Structured re-entry rituals, sharing simple soup meals in silence, walking meditations in gardens mirror the Buddha's measured return and anchor awakening in daily life. Taken together, these 5 chambers form a dynamic map of transformation that transcends time and culture. From the raw embrace of hunger to the gentle tasting of sweetness, from the naming of anger to the free flow of generosity, the Buddha's 6-year path models a holistic evolution of body, heart, and mind. Each stage offers practices that modern seekers can adapt, whether through mindful fasting protocols, effect labeling exercises, compassion rounds, or carefully guided re-entry rituals. In applying these methods, we honor the millennia-spanning karmic debt that began with a humble bowl of ash stew and culminated in the awakening light beneath the Bodhi tree. And we claim for ourselves the same potential to transmute suffering into liberation, to unbind old patterns, and to awaken here and now. In our next segment, we will dive into practical guidelines for designing your own reverse frequency debt script, translating the Buddha's 6-year odyssey into a 42-day urban retreat that any busy individual can undertake. You'll receive daily prompts, safety check-ins, and community support tools to ensure a sustainable journey. Stay tuned as we equip you with everything you need to retrace the Buddha's path in your own life. No snowy peaks required.